floating up in the clouds, but I've always felt that something's missing. That was until I found you right there in the crowd. You came into my life and started a fire. You made me feel like I could touch the sky. Oh, there's nothing missing now that you're my desire. Now all I have to do is to make you mine. 'Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a perfect melody. Baby, don't say you don't believe in me. 'Cause you know, and I know, we're onto something good. You know, and I know, we got something good.
Listen, I'm over here jamming every week, okay? Listen, we have one more episode in this season. Can y'all believe it? We're getting ready to go into season 3. Oh my goodness, this started out just as a hobby during the pandemic, and I'm getting ready to go into season 3. I can't believe it. Woo, Village, we have really been doing some stuff together. Okay, so you know how we do. Like, share, tell somebody this is the time to get your tea, get your coffee, whatever you drinking. It's none of my business. But we have a treat for you today. We're going to be talking about why is putting yourself first so difficult. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. She is an award-winning film producer. She is a Reiki master. She is an empowerment coach and teacher. And she is, let me tell you, she did her first TED Talk in 2020 during the pandemic. Come on now. We don't have just anybody. We have Miss Courtney G. Smith. Come on, y'all. Put your hands together and welcome her to the Village.
Oh, I love that introduction. Thank you.
Hey, Courtney.
Hey.
Welcome to the Village.
Thank you. I'm glad the Village has welcomed me.
Yes, ma'am. Please tell us, what does it mean to be a Reiki master?
Okay, so Reiki is, and I don't feel bad about mispronouncing it. It happens all the time, all the time. But Reiki is an ancient Japanese form of energy healing. And it's just similar to the laying of the hands in the church, where I'm laying my hands over specific parts of the body, sending Reiki energy, which consists of 5 different symbols. I work with 5 different symbols. And on the surface level, Reiki can help with stress reduction and relaxation. But then Reiki can go deeper, where it can help with any mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual issues. So the one distinction of being a Reiki master is that I can teach Reiki being a Reiki master. Being just a Reiki practitioner, I can see clients, but I'm not able to teach. But as a Reiki master, I'm able to teach Reiki, and I travel doing that. So I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. So while we are going to be talking about why putting yourself first is so difficult, you're going to be sharing from that perspective with your experience as a Reiki instructor, a Reiki master. Is that right?
Yes, as a Reiki master, and just some of the themes that I've seen in my clients' lives as well as my life.
Okay.
I got back from a trip dealing with family, and I had to put myself first. So it was a reminder to me. It was so funny. The timing of this show was perfect.
All right. Well, then let's get started. So tell us a little bit more about self-care. Like, how do we do that?
Self-care is just looking, at least for me, it's looking at your needs on a very simple level and honoring that. Like, people laugh at me because me doing this hair is like part of my self-care ritual. So normally I'll dedicate Sundays to doing my hair. It usually takes between 4 and 5 hours. And yeah, because my hair is thick and I have to detangle it along the way or else it just gets matted. But in that, I detangle my hair, I wash it, I steam it. And I've seen the fruits of my labor, because my hair was shorter than yours October of 2017. And this is the growth from that.
Well, listen, we might need to bring you back just to talk about the hair routine then.
And it grows because, I put the love into it. I put the work into it, and I don't look at it. Granted, it's 4 to 5 hours. I'm on my feet and I have to wear Crocs so that my feet don't hurt when I'm done with it. But to see my hair be healthy and to know that I did it, it makes me feel good. It honestly helps with my self-esteem.
So listen, self-care is definitely important. And so whatever that means to each person, and for you, for sure, that's your hair. And the evidence is there for, we are seeing that for sure. So talk to us about some of the barriers of, putting yourself first.
A lot of times it has more so to do not with us, but how we think people are going to perceive us, or the reaction that they're going to get, or that we're going to get. And so, prime example, I set a boundary with a family member, and I was completely okay with the outcome, because in setting the boundary, I made sure that 1, I was putting myself first, and 2, my needs were being met. And that's the 2 questions I always have my clients come back to. 1, am I putting myself first? And 2, are my needs being met? And in doing that, setting the boundary was not anything, like, it wasn't vicious, it wasn't malicious. It was just, look, this is a boundary I'm setting. And from that, I had this particular family member lash out in a way where it was just constant disrespect, constant snide remarks. So then I had to ask myself, I said, okay, I know I'm not going to be around this type of disrespect, but in the grand scheme of things, does this person add to the quality of my life? And when I took inventory of the interactions I've had with this family member, the amount of time I've spent with this family member, the answer to that question was no. No, this person does not enhance my quality of life. So then I was like, why would I engage in the nonsense? So I think that it's really important that it's important that people set boundaries. That is one way to put yourself first. And in setting the boundary, be less concerned with how that person is going to respond, and more concerned with how it can affect your overall well-being. And if setting that boundary is better for you on every single level, then do it. But when you do it, be prepared that a lot of people just may not receive it in the way that you would like them to receive. But at the end of the day, that's not your issue. That's their issue.
Okay. So I guess there's a struggle that people may have with putting themselves first, because we kind of have been taught to be selfless.
Yes.
To, continue to give and to, help and to always be all you can be. And, so to put yourself first kind of is, clearly the opposite spectrum. So for that person who's always giving, this is going to be a challenge.
Oh, it's going to be a huge challenge. It reminds me of, have you seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love?
No.
Okay. Phenomenal movie. I saw it years after it came out. So I watched the movie and I think it is just amazing. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I immediately go to IMDb just to see what the ratings were and, you know, how people liked it. Kim, oh my goodness. I go to the website and it's like 5.8 out of 10. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Did these people, right? I'm like, did we watch the same movie? So then as I'm looking at the reviews, a lot of them was like, the reviews were, oh, this woman is selfish. You know, how could she, you know, leave her husband? And it was a situation where she was not happy. Neither her or her husband were happy in the marriage. But her husband was the type who was like, well, I'll just fake it because, you know, society says you're supposed to be married and as long as you know, have your social life or whatever. And she was just like, I can't fake it. And then she knew that he wanted certain things out of life that she just, it wasn't in alignment with what she wanted. So she left the marriage, and that essentially was what people were saying, that she was so selfish. But in the movie, she left the marriage and then went on this healing journey of discovering herself.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was beautiful because not a lot of people take the time to do that. And the fact that the reviews were like, you know, she's selfish, how could she do that? It was a reminder to me of the type of society we live in, where it's like you said, when you do that, you're seen as selfish, or not so much as you're seen as selfish, but then the flip side of that is that, okay, you don't do it, and then you're constantly in this giving role. So what I like to have my clients do, it's an exercise, and it's a really simple exercise. Every day, I like them to do something that honors themselves. And I like to give them the example of, say you have your favorite cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, you just have not been enjoying that cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what you want to do is take a moment, enjoy that cup of tea, and in that moment, don't think about what you need to be doing 20 minutes from now, or what you should be doing like an hour from that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the tea, and then when you're done with it, don't associate any guilt with having that tea. So it's almost like you're in that moment, that moment, and then you move on. And that cup of tea can be whatever. It could be a walk around the block. It can even be, I'm not an advocate of eating Flaming Hots, but if someone wants to eat a bag of Flaming Hots, well, not the whole bag maybe, but enough where it's like, you know what? I was craving these Flaming Hots. I ate them. I'm going to go about my day. Enjoy that moment for yourself. And once you start doing that, like that, those little things every single day, you build upon having just this way of flowing where you honor yourself, and then people have no choice but to honor you, and then you'll start receiving a lot of that stuff you're giving out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know for me, when I started putting myself first and declining people's invitation to do things or to participate, I didn't provide a reason. I think at first I would feel obligated to explain why I wasn't going to do it. Like someone would ask me, you know, can you do this? Or do you want to go here? And I would always, I was always like, yeah, of course. Like, okay, yeah, I can do it. Well, yeah, I can do that. Or, well, yeah, I'll go. And then, I was overextending myself. And so then I said, well, I just can't do that anymore. And I decided that that wasn't the best thing for me. And so I started saying, well, in the beginning stages, I was like, well, no, I can't go because, and so I would like give them a reason. But, of course, now I've, grown as a person. And so I just say, well, no, no, I'm, I can't.
Yes.
And I just stop it. Like, no, sorry.
Yep. Yep.
I just cut it off because
I understand you, because like you said, a lot of people don't get to that space where it's like, you do not have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
No, it's so funny because my mother is that way. So she'll say, okay, I don't want to do something, or she'll stand in, honoring herself, but then she explains away why she made that. And I was like, you don't owe them that explanation. You didn't want to do something, and you don't have to, period. I remember I was supposed to join this organization, and like I went to the meetings and was like, okay. And then at the very last moment, something didn't feel right to me. And my intuition was saying, don't do it. Like, just don't do it. And I remember telling the woman, I was like, my intuition is telling me not to join, so I'm going to honor that. And I left it at that. And she looked at me stunned. And I was like, there's nothing left to say.
Yeah.
But it's definitely getting to that place where you don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so liberating. Honestly, it's just being comfortable in who you are, and just being, I think it takes a while sometimes before we're comfortable in our own skin and being who we are, and and it's settled.
Yeah.
It takes a minute before you're comfortable, and you're not concerned about what people think and how they perceive you.
Yeah.
It takes a minute before you're, like, okay, yes, got it.
Right. Point where you just don't care about what other people think, because I always tell people, you can try to have a conversation with someone about whatever, and they are going to respond based on their life experiences, their level of healing, where they've met themselves. I'm like, so, and I especially like to emphasize this when I'm like coaching them through using or opening up their throat chakra, saying something that could potentially, it's your truth or it's how you feel, and you just don't want to offend someone. I tell them, you just cannot be responsible for how that person responds, because their response is rooted in so much. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing.
Totally agree. Because we all have different backgrounds, have different experiences. And I tell people all the time, you grew up in your house, your mom put salt and pepper on the chicken.
Right.
My mom put seasoned salt and garlic on the chicken. You know what I mean? So, it's different experiences. So, we come out and so we have to deal with that situation. So, anyway, so let's talk about breaking through barriers as it pertains to, why it's so difficult to put ourselves first.
Well, the one thing is to just don't take it personal. That's the first thing. Like, when you decide to put yourself first, whatever reaction you get from people, do not take it personal. Because again, they can only meet you where they've met themselves. And also in that, I don't believe that everyone heals in this lifetime. So if they come from a very hurt place in responding, again, you have to understand that it has nothing to do with you, and it's just part of their healing. And then 2, doing the little things for yourself first. It doesn't have to be grand where, you make this stance in front of everyone and you're like, I'm putting myself first and this is just how it's going to be. That can be a lot. And people will be like, okay, what's really going on? Like, is this person having a breakdown? Like, what? Especially if you're someone who has never honored yourself, and then all of a sudden you take this stand, people are like, so that's why it goes back to doing the small things, taking that walk, doing just things that you have had on your list that you have wanted to do them. And do them unapologetically. Just enjoy, doing stuff for yourself. And then two, when you're going through setting the boundaries, so setting boundaries is really important as well. That's key to honoring yourself, especially in different type of relationships, whether they be personal, romantic, professional. Oftentimes we think that we cannot set boundaries at work, and it's like, oh no, you absolutely can. Like, no one has the right to mistreat you or be disrespectful just because we're in a work environment where you might report to them. And just, again, honoring yourself when you set those boundaries, and just know that, again, it's for you, it's not for them. And always come back to that question: does this person that I'm setting this boundary with, do they enhance my quality of life? And if they don't, you might want to journal or just sit with yourself and think about why you have continued to have an ongoing, potentially toxic relationship with this person. Yeah. Yeah, because oftentimes we just miss the codependency, especially when it comes to family, because people are so quick to be like, oh, that's your family. And I'm like, family doesn't have the right to disrespect. Like, but I don't know who came up with that rule, who just thinks that family can do anything and everything and not be held accountable.
Yeah.
So again, when it comes to you setting barriers, or not so much as setting barriers, but creating boundaries with people, again, ask yourself, does this person enhance my quality of life?
Okay. So I want to kind of ask a question,
Okay.
because I know that what you're saying is like spot on, but there's always that person that's going to take what you're saying and and use that as their license to validate, that that's right. And then, and that's why, and my sister, she getting on my nerves anyway, and whatever, and just totally isolate, family or whatever, and they just kind of take stuff. And yes, there is some valid situations, I'm not discounting that, trust me, there's some valid situations, but I feel like in today's society, that people are really quick to throw people away if they don't co-sign with how they feel, with how they think, or with their agenda.
I agree with that. You have one thing to, yes, you're going to always have people like that. And I can't, like I said, not everyone heals in this lifetime. At least in my opinion, not everyone heals in this lifetime. So people who are moving around in the way that you described need healing. Like, not everyone is even supposed to agree with you. I have disagreements with my mother. I have disagreements with my friends. But it's just topics that we just don't agree on. But we don't on them based on our backgrounds, like you said. And that's fine. But if you are using... like if you're taking something that I said and then using it to isolate people, it's like, okay, well, if everyone is gone, do some self-reflection and just say, okay, well, what's the common denominator in all this? And it's you. It's you. So, at some point, I do believe not everyone can be wrong. If we all have the same opinion, or if we all I have this one friend, and it was so funny. We all had this mutual friend, and like the mutual friend has treated everyone accordingly, where she just will stop talking to you, no explanation. And I kept telling this friend, I'm like, just be prepared, because this is her pattern with everyone. And I was like, whatever you do, don't take it personal. This is her pattern. Sure enough, she cuts her off and she is just devastated. And then I had to remind her, I'm like, this is her behavior in every single relationship, like, you know, personal, interpersonal relationship. Like, you can't take it personal. Again, the common denominator is the friend that cuts everyone off. Y'all don't know why we've been cut off.
And that's crazy, because I tell people that, you know, you can keep putting up walls, but the thing about walls are, yeah, you're keeping people out, but you're in here by yourself.
Yes, and it's very lonely.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy. You're keeping people out, but you are in here all by yourself.
But people will do that because they don't want to admit when they are wrong, and they don't want to be held accountable. And that's just, I don't want to say it's the majority of people, because I've not done this field research, but I will say I have come across a lot of people where being held accountable, it causes them to lash out and to become very, not so much as violent, because I've never seen someone like just go completely berserk, but I have seen people become very ugly when they are held accountable. But if this is stuff, if I've moved in life where I've been able to get away with treating people a certain type of way because no one stands up to me, and I know I can continue to do it because this particular group is not going to stand up to me. When someone does stand up to you, oh my goodness, it can feel very threatening, because it's like, you know, and then not only the feeling of just being threatened, but then you're forcing that person to see how ugly their spirit can be at times. No one wants to see that. No one really wants to. So that's why when people do that, to me, I still try to have compassion for them. Because I took the time to start my healing journey in 2014. And it started from my boyfriend at the time broke up with me. And he was just like, you are so angry. And I was like, what? Whatever. But I knew that I was. And I was like, okay, let me address this anger. Not everybody has that, you know, come to Jesus moment and self-reflection. Not everyone does. And it was hard. It was really hard, because I had this man who loved me unconditionally and just completely didn't appreciate it because of my own stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Listen, we still have so much to talk about, but we're getting out of time, and I don't know where the time just goes. We definitely got to get you back. I feel like we need to continue this next week, kind of like, you know, man. So Courtney, this has been phenomenal. We're going to have to bring you back really soon for sure. So any just closing remarks really quickly, because we have about 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes left. Any closing remarks for the village?
Closing remarks. I can absolute guarantee that when you start putting yourself first and loving you on the level where Kim was talking about, where you don't have to explain yourself, or you don't feel the need to explain yourself, you will begin to adore your life. And when you get to that point, it is an incredible feeling. And I wish for you all to at least have that feeling once in this lifetime.
Awesome. Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and put you in the green room, and I'm going to see you there in just a few moments. Okay.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks so much for having me on.
Okay. I'll see you in a moment. That was phenomenal, y'all. So listen, we have one more episode for this season. I hope to see y'all back next week, 2:00 Eastern, 1:00 Central Standard Time. And just to remember that silence creates distance, but conversations with Kim builds the village. Thank you and bye-bye.